Then we're ready to start the public hearing for 314 Glen Road. And this is, just to be clear, this is a new application? Or is this a continuation of an existing application?
It's a change to what was previously, we're requesting changes to what was originally.
All right, so it's not a new, this is not a new application.
Modification. We're requesting a modification.
So this is a continued, is this a continued hearing or just a?
We
hearing?
advertise it
As a new one?
yeah,
All right.
but it's up to you. I mean, I think you've covered yourself by advertising.
Yeah, we sort of got confused in the changeover with Betsy.
Yeah.
She had told us we didn't need to, and that it was just an amendment.
An amendment to the existing.
And then everything changed, and we came back, and the decision was made to publicly notify, so I'm not exactly sure. Basically, we got into the project, so first of all, thank you for having us again tonight. We got into the project as it was approved and found that it was cost prohibitive, and also the scope of it had gotten a little bit away from ourselves. So we've come back with a smaller plan. The RGFA goes from what was over 9,000 square feet down to 6,178 square feet.
Okay, under those circumstances, it sounds like you better just start from scratch.
Okay.
I mean,
The
that much
design of
has
the house, a lot of it is the calculation as to how that size changes because of the below grade space.
I think part of it may have been that the previous calculation was incorrect.
Oh,
I think it was over-calculated by the previous part.
okay.
By how much?
Do you know?
Roughly basement size is.
The footprint hasn't changed dramatically from where it was.
Yeah.
It really was a calculation change that
It's
caused
gone from what to what?
from 9,000 to 6,178. But there's 0 square feet. There's 0 square feet in the lower level now.
Oh,
And before it was calculating the entire lower level.
no,
So,
I think he misunderstood.
okay.
which is part of the reason for the change. But the design of the home, essentially, we struggled with the amount of retaining walls and land mass that needed to be moved to make the home work the way that we had approved it. So by moving the garage to the opposite side, we worked more with the land as it existed and was able to redirect the house.
What do you think, guys? Do you think we ought to look at this as a new application, or are the modifications such that we can?
It's a better plan.
Well, I hope so.
Can you show
But
us
is it
the new better plan?
I just want to know how to handle it. You know?
This site stuff is more or less the same.
Well, I don't know who's controlling the projector. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, there's already a certificate of action.
There is. I just want to know if this is.
So
if
it's
this
a question of whether we modify it or
Wait,
void it.
How substantial will it change?
That's the
Yeah.
question that I keep asking.
Yeah.
Saying it's landscaping mostly.
For us, the changes weren't big because it's just less. You know, it's the kind of the same scheme and it's less. Legally, I don't know what's cleaner, if you would rather just toss out the old one and have the new one so that no one gets confused, or you just do you keep the old one and have a modification and remember some new plans.
I guess I'd say it's probably cleaner just to go ahead and wipe the slate clean and start all over. And
From the staff perspective, it would be cleaner.
Yeah.
it would.
We
Okay.
can take the original and trash it.
All right. So let's go through the routine.
So just a quick question, how do we
Yeah.
take the original and do we just say it's gone?
It's never executed.
So it just,
That's all
but you
one.
leave it open for 2 years?
Yeah, I think there's two, you're gonna find two L1s.
Or do
One
we
is
actually
the
officially
overlay,
vote to?
is the actual new
rescind that?
landscape.
I think what we do is we officially
I don't think
include
they
it
have
in our
that.
decision.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
But
I
the
don't
previous
recognize that place.
decision is
He's
null
leaving
and
it.
void.
It's null and void?
And
And
this is a
replaced.
superseding decision.
Yeah, okay, so that's how we handle it.
If I may, the original is shown in red, and the currently proposed is shown in black.
So it's quite a bit different.
Yeah, the garage is flipped from this side to this side, and the house has moved forward, and all these retaining walls in the back, we've been able to greatly reduce these walls to just this one wall here.
Yeah, I think this is the best thing. And I agree with John, this is cleanest, otherwise,
Yeah.
10 years from
All
now,
these modifications and
what are
nobody
we
will know
looking
what's
at?
what.
So, okay.
Some things remain the same, so all this landscaping that we talked about the last time remains, looks to me, it looks almost identical to the original plan.
Yeah, I believe, the landscape architect is here, if you like, but generally speaking, along the street remains identical. At the, I guess, sort of the way you guys are looking at these plans now, there's no landscaping shown around the house for foundation planting, because that
We don't
appears to be
really-
the
we don't
direction
really
you
care,
want to go in with
right.
that.
We don't
And
really
there's been a
care.
little bit of a modification along here, which
Based on
I'm sure Cameron and Michael can speak about.
And was the driveway always here? Or just-
The driveway opening remains the same.
Oh, I see the red, okay.
The red, yeah, so
Yeah.
we had a lot more fill to create this kind of a driveway than, this is much straighter. It allows us to work a little bit more with the natural terrain. We have been back to conservation to show them this plan, and they have approved it.
Okay, let's go from scratch. So taking a look at the engineering.
So you're looking at the existing conditions plan here, and we're constrained as far as the site, the developable area of the site, because of the wetland resources. You see on the southeast side, there's the wetland there, which is sort of the ponded area. There's a intermittent brook that flows to the perennial stream that's at the southern side of the site. So we've got buffer zones to those resources that have sort of constrained us to the northern corner of the site. We found an area at the northwest side that's amenable to our septic system design, so that's where the septic system needs to be. So that's how we sort of arrived at the area for the house. We go to the next. So you see that we are keeping the same driveway opening. The driveway approach now is essentially straight, and we've, as Rick talked about, we've changed the garage facing the opposite way as the previously approved plan, so that's a much more, it fits into the site better. It eliminated some problems with retaining walls and how to treat the back of the garage, which was high above the existing grade on that eastern side. So you see the septic system design at the western part of the site. We've designed the stormwater to collect most of the roof area and the driveway runoff and infiltrate that at the northeast corner of the site where we had some amenable soil conditions. We've got some infiltration galleys located there, and
You have a pointer?
It's right now.
I think you can move the slide back.
So here's the infiltration galleys. We talked at the previous hearing with the previous site about the performance standards for the stormwater design, and the ponded area at this part of the site, that's the receiving area for the runoff for pretty much the entire site. So we calculated the rate and volume of runoff that goes to that area under existing conditions, and we've designed the stormwater system such that once the site is developed, the rate and the volume of runoff to that area will be reduced by way of the infiltration system. So that design is essentially the same as under the previous submittal. There's been a reduction in the amount of impervious area under this filing, so it's an improvement in the design in that respect. The other team members can talk in more detail about the retaining walls, but we had some extensive walls under the previous layout at the rear of the house. That scheme has been redesigned and does fit better into the natural grade, which slopes from the high side at the eastern property line down toward the pond. So we have a walkout, essentially a walkout setup at this end of the house. and some grading at the rear to get up in a relatively low retaining wall at that location, and a higher retaining wall to hold the driveway approach here. That's essentially an overview of the engineering design. I can take some specific questions.
Well, why don't we hold the questions until the end of the presentation? Who's next?
Landscape and architecture next.
Might as well do landscape.
Sure. Can we find out the landscape? I'm not sure that it was in that set. I think you had another file. Yeah. The next one. That's it. Okay. So here you can see the driveway coming in. As we mentioned before, the location of the driveway is exactly the same as the previous plan. It's the current opening in the stone wall that's along Glen Road. And garage on this side, a basically turnaround, sort of, back out, turn around area here, which serves for a little bit additional parking. This is a covered patio, which when Dan shows the architectural drawings, you'll get a better sense of what that looks like. And then another small patio out back. So we've actually reduced the amount of paved area that's in the back of the house. And as Tom mentioned, there's the low retaining wall back this way, and a little bit taller retaining wall over here because this is a low spot. And I'll just touch on the lighting briefly. We had a plan in the previous submission that was under the 18,000 lumens. Is that the number? 18,000. We're still under 18,000. There's 100 or 200 lumens. A little bit more on this one, but it's basically the same number of fixtures and the same type of fixtures that we had previously approved.
What are they?
Which was a Hinckley Harbor.
There's 15 recessed soffit lights. 6 lantern lights, is that right, the Hinkley? 4 steps, 6 paths, and 1 pendant.
Right.
17,690.
Right.
So where are they?
So if you can sort of see the color, the red spots here are the lighting. So we've got some lanterns on the end of the garage, and then they're sort of stringing along the
What's
front
over
of
the
the house.
garage doors?
Nothing, there's
Nothing?
something, a lantern between each of the doors.
There's lanterns. Yeah.
So it shows 3 over the garage doors.
1, 2, 3.
There's 3 garage doors.
You
They
said,
were in between, there were
you said
two.
between.
There's actually, that was the change in internally when the brackets went in. There's actually 3 downlights, 1 centered over each door.
Okay.
Okay, so those are downlights?
Yes.
Are those the recessed soffit ones?
Yes.
Okay. So it's an overhang? Okay.
And then soffit lights under here.
Yeah, there's 1 pendant light under the main entrance. There's a small canopy, a couple
Right.
columns up front. So there's 1 hanging pendant that matches the
1,
lanterns.
2.
Are there lanterns on the posts?
No.
There's no post up.
The porch posts?
No, over the, it may be easier to see out there.
Maybe we should just wait for the elevations to show the lighting. I think it'll be a little more
They
clear.
don't have any.
Okay.
So if I could just switch to the planting,
Where's that?
Yep, we're on it.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
The landscaping along Glen Road hasn't changed at all since the last submission. We have the addition of evergreens and deciduous trees, and we developed this in consultation with Kim. And also on the west side of the site, the buffer side over here, where we have pine trees and then understory planting as well. It's almost the same plan. And on this side as well, there's sort of understory transition planting from the wooded area to the driveway, so these are things like witch hazel, large woody shrubs, woodland species type things here. The other change was that if you look at the plan with the red house on it, the former plan, the house had twisted a little bit, which created a little more backyard space. The Abrams wanted to have some more lawn back here, so this became a lot feasible with the way that the house is oriented.
The house turned more clockwise or something?
More clockwise, yeah.
But the entrance is the same to the road?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it rotated about 30 degrees anyway.
That's probably pretty close, yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so that's it on the landscaping? The landscape plan is this, the landscape plan must have changed along the eastern wall of the house quite a bit.
This is the eastern
Yeah,
wall.
that's,
We had a few shrubs over here. It was not much, but it was mostly concentrated along this stretch. So I would say that the number
Concentrate
of
on what
plants
stretch? What stretch? Just point me the point.
Along the driveway.
along the driveway,
Okay, all right, yeah.
because the driveway actually is a little bit closer here than the last plan. But the amount of planting there is relatively the same. So the volume of planting.
are you bringing in more fill with this one? Or no?
Not significantly more, it's
Not
essentially the
significantly
same.
more?
Yeah, it's essentially the same.
Essentially the same. So there is a little more, but not a great deal more.
Yeah, it was the same under, when we initially changed it, we gently graded out behind the rear patio just a little bit. So it's almost
Gentle slope.
Yeah, so there's
Whereas
a
before
minor
it was-
amount of extra fill there that is,
Yeah.
as far as comparing to the previous submittal.
The previous finished floor elevation was what?
It was the same.
It was exactly the same as
The
this
finished
one.
floor was the same.
It's a distance to the property line on the east side. House to the property line.
Property line's on the other side of the water.
Property lines.
Way down.
Way down.
Okay, just kind of.
Yeah.
Just not remembering the old landscape plan, but, could you just go through, I mean, what the plantings are that you're proposing? Just pretend we've never seen it before.
You're interested in the specific
Yeah,
species?
size of the species.
Okay. There's, along the Glen Road side, where is it? There it is. There's a red maple and a red oak, 3.5 inch. There are white fir.
Where?
Well, I'm pointing generally along here.
Whoa.
There's
Yeah, it's hard to see.
there's an oak and a maple in here somewhere.
Okay.
And then there's
Bigger point.
fir and spruce at 10 to 12 feet. And then
10 to 12 feet high.
10 to 12 feet tall, yeah. The conifers. So like that's a conifer, and that's a conifer, and that's a conifer, and that's a conifer. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here.
And they're all 10 to 12s?
Yes.
Really?
And then
Kim, you didn't want any variation? Just wanted them all 10
We
to
did
12s?
have some variation. No, they're all 10 to 12s.
they're 10 to 12 on the plan. I think when you go to the nursery, you get
Yeah.
variation just in
You
the
got
course
a few
of.
inches, but you know,
They look
Aren't
different.
these being interspersed though in among other plants?
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's-
they
there
all
are
be the
existing
exact same
trees.
height.
But there are all existing trees and
Yeah.
then these are being fit in as
Yeah,
opposed to just a.
we're gonna have to
creation.
locate them
Yeah.
carefully in
Field located.
fields. Field located.
Because there are existing trees and you just sort of give it So rather than just putting up a bunch
Some
of
very
trees
mature
straight in.
trees along
Yeah, so they're trying to fit these in so that you won't get the little soldier look, right?
Right, the species varies,
Our
and,
chairman wants to hope, and hope is a bad strategy, so.
no,
I
I
don't know, they
think,
all look they look like they're pretty close together.
How tall are the existing trees with that?
they're probably in the 30 to 40 foot range.
So you got 10 to 12s and then 30 to 40s.
Yeah, right.
I
Might
can,
be such a mix.
I'm a little nervous at 10 to 12.
About the size of
About
that tree.
they're big,
in a
because the
row,
bigger
yeah.
tree that you plant,
Yeah.
the riskier it is. So I would not go bigger than that.
And I assume that's also because you're trying to fit them into around the
Yeah.
roots of the mature trees
Exactly.
that you'd rather not lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're the expert.
Right.
There's also hardwood trees and shrubs going in there as well, so it's not just gonna be,
A layer.
yeah,
That's
there's
true.
lots of understory
Yeah.
proposed.
And then what about the western border? What's going on along the?
So these are vestigia white pines along here,
And those are, what size?
also 10 to 12.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because why did they look so much smaller?
Because they're vestigiate, so I made
Oh, they're
the
columnar?
diameter,
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
columnar,
they're
so
tall.
that we can get
Okay.
tighter spacing on those. And then also, in both of these areas, there's understory shrub plantings of rhododendron and witch hazel and things like that. So it's all native species.
How many trees have you taken out?
How many existing trees are we
Yeah.
taking out?
Yeah.
Live trees, none. There's a lot of dead trees on the site, we're taking the dead trees out.
The invasives are pretty extensive.
We're just talking
Okay.
about the inkberries.
The Bear Valley, no.
Good. I think
Just one
that's,
question, because
yeah.
you've got PA in two places, like on the evergreens, it's PA is, I see it, ABs, but then you've also got PA for the path. So, and some of these are little bullseyes and some of them are not, so I'm very confused most of the time.
One is the path light, the other is the tree.
Oh,
I mean,
see.
I don't really
Yeah.
know. Is that what the deal is with this?
PA, the path light, there's only 4 path lights and they're all,
1, 2, 3, 4, and so
Right.
you're actually putting
Right.
in
those are not the trees.
a Norway spruce, right?
No, those are the path lights.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it isn't 6, although it
Yeah,
seems to say
6.
6 here.
How many do we show?
I don't think this is the latest plan.
Is this not the latest one?
That one is a little different.
Yeah, there's 6 path lights.
There are 6?
Yeah.
Okay. So just one of them accidentally didn't have the bullseye with next to it.
Looks like a graphic, yeah, it's a graphic error.
Okay.
I'm saying for the public record that there are 6 path lights.
Thank you. All right, and those are not
That's-
Norway
that's
spruces.
clear.
Foundation.
But it's kind of a secret where they are. Okay, so architecture, we're talking about architecture and now we're gonna get back to the lighting. Because you're gonna make it crystal clear to us what the
Shed
lights
some
are.
light on the left.
You have to advance it.
Go to the full screen.
Furniture.
So this is the first floor plan. You see the garage is over here on the right-hand side. The main entrance is here. One of the fixtures we were just talking about, there are a pair of columns out front from the front door. When we see the elevations, there's a little small arched roof here. We have a pendant light fixture above that. There are, in front of the garage doors, where we have some of the accent lights. There's a French door on the back side over here. There's a lantern light on either side of those. We have, I believe we changed this one to a down light on the back here. There's a side door over here. There's one of the matching lantern lights. So the pendants and the lanterns are all in the same family, the same style of the hanging light. And then it's.
Do you have a copy of what that looks like?
It was submitted. I don't think I have it with me.
that package that came over the.
It's the same, it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
same fixtures that were submitted
Okay,
in the
thank you.
original proposal.
Okay, so it's frosted glass lenses in the light.
Yeah.
That's what keeps the glare down, that's the idea?
Right.
Okay. In the previous slides, it looked as though there were a couple of pendant fixtures attached to the columns, is that not what's going on?
In the initial submittal,
Yeah.
the original design, that's exactly what they had. The two columns out front, they had a lantern, a wall-mounted lantern here and a wall-mounted lantern there. That didn't make sense to us to do that. So we've got a matching
Just the
pendant
pendant.
that's suspended above from the ceiling structure
Okay.
above the porch.
So do we have a current plan of where the light fixtures are and what they are? Because that was the previous one.
It's on the
It's
landscape
on the
plan.
landscape drawing. It's difficult to see at this.
Well,
small
your
scale.
landscape drawing showed the
Yeah.
two pendant fixtures off on the columns. It did. That's the reason why I asked.
Okay.
The slide you were showing.
We'll have to check if we're compatible.
Okay. I think that's gonna, we need to see the final version of the lighting plan at some point.
Yeah, this is correct. This is correct. I just want to be straight. What we have at the main entrance, the P1 is the pendant light fixture. What you're seeing here are there's four
These are step lights.
lights.
What are those?
This is a path
That's a
light.
path light. That's a low.
Right next to the column?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the R's are the down lights, where we have these L's are the wall-mounted lanterns. For example, on that French door out back, there's a lantern on either side. The side entry door, there's one on the side. The rear entry door, there's one here. And then the rest of these, as we mentioned before, go centered above the garage door and a soffit overhang.
So you have, what are these are just recessed for the heck of it? The function there is just to accent the wall?
It's
Is that the
to
idea?
accent the wall, and there's similar in a couple other places. Again, as the grades drop down, there's another door down below at the lower level.
Yeah.
So those two L's are down at the lower level. And then the covered porch that we were talking about earlier, is a column in the corner, because that's got four down lights. So that serves not only the back door, but also the porch.
Okay, thank you.
Your architectural things are gonna have, it's easier to work with those.
So the two elevations here is the main front elevation, the rear elevation, and the massing and the scale is very similar to what was shown in the previous submittal with the flanking gable ends over the center entrance. We've revised some of the detailing. Instead of a gang of four casement windows, we split that up so we can get more of this Palladian look with the actual trim between the pair of windows in the middle and the flankers on either side. There's small amounts of the stone veneer that was on the original. Essentially on these sort of projected bays that are under each gable end, there's some stone veneer.
So you've reduced the stone quite a bit, actually.
The stone has come down some bit. The major materials for the exterior of the walls is a pre-stained buyback white cedar shingle, asphalt shingles for the roof. All of the trim is a composite PVC trim. The elevation directly below it is essentially the rear elevation. So this is that center French door with, sort of see these sponges on either side of the door where those two lanterns are. Over on the left side here, this one column roof is just this very shallow, almost flat roof that creates this outdoor covered dining area off the family room kitchen area. And then you're starting to see, beyond, this is the mass of the garage beyond that's angled out towards the front. That's just a black and white version of the same. This is the east elevation on the top. So this is one of the things we did is we really tried to simplify the roof framing. There were a variety of different hips on hips and some kind of crazy framing that was proposed proposed originally, so we've really simplified the framing. We've got this main, very horizontal with the trim and the brackets, and then this essentially gable end wall interrupted by the flared overhanging shingles, and then essentially dormers on that create the livable space of the second floor for the bedrooms. Beyond, you're seeing the garage. We've drawn this in a true elevation, even though there's a slight rotation to it. The elevation below us here is the west elevation, so this mass on the left-hand side is the back side of the garage. This is sort of the connector link into the main house over here. This, what you're seeing here again, is that low sort of flat roof is the covered porch with the one column in the corner. This is a black and white version, and obviously the RGFA calculations. So I think, from a massing material scale, it's very similar to the original design in terms of its intent, but I think the articulation and sort of the refinement of the details is a little bit improved from what was previously drawn.
Could you go back, please, to the east side elevation? Yeah, the guy on the top. What is the retaining wall material?
That's a precast concrete block.
And how high are those walls?
It varies, but I think the highest you'll see is 8 feet.
8 feet.
Yeah.
That's the one on the left, right?
The one on the right is actually taller. Yes.
On the right is smaller.
Yeah.
Graphically, it looks like the one on the left is against it.
Here it is, yeah.
Yeah.
This
Garage.
grade actually is going to come up a little bit here.
Oh,
So, because we're sloping up from the corner of the house towards the middle of the house.
okay. So,
So on this side, I want to say 5 or 6 feet. And over here, I think we're 8 feet. And then the grade tapers as it ends around the corner.
yeah. And what's happening at the top of the wall? Is it, don't you need a railing, at least where the patio is? Right here.
Well, here's the car, you come right up,
Yeah.
go right over.
Isn't there something on top of it? I mean,
Nothing planned right now.
really? You
They'll-
don't have
they'll
anything along
extend it
the,
up.
you don't have anything along
Oh,
the
there'll
patio?
be a guardrail along
They'll
there,
have to.
yes. Yeah,
That's a code
yeah.
requirement.
Yes.
On both of them.
Yeah, definitely, because there's no, that's right, the paving is right there.
Right.
Yeah.
People just gonna walk.
Walk right over, right, yeah.
And,
So what's that gonna look like? That's gonna be 36 inches.
So it'll have to be a 42-inch height guardrail,
Okay.
which
Say
could be a decorative fence type.
Decorative fence thing,
Yeah.
which is, what is a decorative fence type?
It'll either be black or white picket or brown picket. We'll have to talk about the
So we don't
materials,
know. It's something, it's a picket, maybe.
but yeah.
Okay, because it's gonna be a feature.
Or vinyl, or metal?
We don't know.
Is there concern in it being this close to the do not disturb line? It's just a few feet from it.
Well, that's the other question I had.
Concerned about
How do you
that.
build it? How do you build it without going over the no disturb line? It's like 1 or 2 feet away from the line.
We actually talked to the Conservation Commission in great detail about that.
Yeah.
It is a little bit more than 2 feet, by the way, and that'll have to largely be built by hand.
1 inch equals 10 feet. Looks like it's 2 tenths.
That's 3 or 4 feet.
Really? 2 tenths? Quarter of an inch? You can build a footing and everything in that 3 feet?
That's accurate, is that right?
No, I think I think we said the.
The scale's 3 feet.
Yeah, I think
This
it's
may not be the way.
4 feet, I think we had 2 feet between the do not disturb line and the silt fence line, and then left another 2 feet.
That's the latest?
Yeah.
that's a tenth again. Right? Yeah.
It's like 3 feet.
Yeah.
3 feet. 3 feet from that line to the
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
From the red.
From
The red is the do not disturb line. This
What
is
is
the
that?
erosion
That's the
control
limit
line.
of work.
Oh, wow. So from the,
Yeah.
so this is where the hay bales
So
are.
it's still fenced.
Yeah.
So the working area is about a foot and a half or 2 feet
Yeah.
to the hay bales.
Is it doable, Dave?
Is it just is it keystone, like
So,
a
yeah.
stack block wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll build it from the high side.
Yeah.
It's not a poured foundation, it's just a level,
Yeah.
level gravel
Segmental
base.
wall with
Yeah.
a level pipe.
How does it stand the load behind it? 8 feet tall and
They-
you're
how
driving
deep is it?
vehicles and.
How deep is the wall? It's basically laid on the ground.
Right.
No,
how
no, but
deep
it's
are
an
the
8
blocks?
foot high wall.
Oh, so
It's an 8 foot high retaining
I
wall.
was told it was not gonna be, it's like 2 inches per foot, I think they lay back. Something like that.
Maybe a half.
So it's not,
Does
it's
it-
not
Or is it a
a,
half inch?
it's not a straight wall.
Half inch per
Per layer.
layer.
Per course.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't
So is
understand.
it
What do you-
It's got
Vertical?
a little bit of a batter to it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it looks
It's like
like in the
it's a
plan
one
as though it's a
batter.
vertical wall.
Right.
Well, it's a half inch per row.
8 inch, so it'd be 4
Per
inches
inch,
for
right.
4 feet.
Yeah, so it lays back just like, 4 or
Is it all
5.
the same thickness? You don't need it thicker at the bottom to help
No.
retain?
No,
this?
No.
they,
They have like these
Yeah, layers
No,
of
but
mesh.
if you look, if that's the case, then by the time you get to the top of the batter, you're almost right at the driveway.
well, it's probably only a 4 inch batter, and that looks pretty thick. The blocks are only,
75/8.
yeah,
I mean, it depends on which
It's
manufacturer.
it's an 8-inch
you know what I mean, like
With
that thickness that they're
block,
showing.
and I'm showing it 12 inches.
Yeah, well, that,
So it's an accurate, graphically it's accurate.
yeah, so he's showing the top back edge and the
And the
bottom
front
front edge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
no, but I mean, they're pretty simple and, they're very common units. It's basically a level gravel pad. You just, stack them up, and after like, say, 2 courses, they use pins to like, they pin them together. After 2 courses, you lay back like geogrid, and then you do like 2 more courses, and it's more geogrid that lays back, and,
This is from our last submission.
Yeah, there's more room there.
and then honestly, I've seen them go like 20 to 30 feet high.
And have a roadway over them? I mean,
Oh,
behind
yeah.
them?
Yeah.
It's a gravity wall.
Yeah. The other thing is, there's no possibility for softening that wall at all.
It's
With
right on
what
the
is-
edge of the woods.
The wetlands.
Yeah.
They're very big
I know it's
wetlands.
on the edge of the wetlands, but that's not a really dense wood, as I remember it. It's fairly, isn't it fairly open?
I remember
No,
it being
It's
pretty
really dense and
Yeah,
it's
it's
set
not
far
visible
back.
from the road.
Yeah.
I
I
mean-
remember we were concerned about it the last time, because you could get a look at it through here, but it's 8 feet plus 3.5 feet. 11.5 feet. If you have the wall and the guardrail on top of it. That's pretty imposing. Unrelieved, straight wall. No
Will there be a
possi-
shot coming up Glen Road?
What
Will
about,
we be able to
what
see
about
it?
planting, some sort of a vine on it?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that.
Did you guys pick out a color and in the
Yeah.
come in a variety of colors and, different textures.
I like the idea of planting a vine on it.
Something. I mean, I think.
We can do that.
I think you'll be able to,
Probably Virginia
Get a
Creek
look at it in
would
the
just be
winter.
fabulous on
Yeah,
it.
we can do that.
Right.
The big question is still the
What's on
top.
and securing the top to the fence on the top to withstand the overturning moment. The 300-pound overturning moment, which is how do you do that?
which is actually the tricky part with these walls, because they're basically
Yeah.
just pinned together.
They're just pinned together.
And you can grout the cells, but, I mean, you get, guys, so I think what you're hearing is what goes on top, and then and we just had to deal with this at another site. Make sure that's compatible for the wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
What material do you think we're talking about?
For
The fence.
For the fence?
For the
We don't know.
Guardrail.
Right, so we're gonna need to get us a middle on the fence.
Okay.
And the details showing how
Okay.
it's actually done.
Have you seen it done before, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Usually you can actually, you can send it off to the wall guys, and they'll,
They'll engineer the sleeves that are required for the main
Yeah.
yeah.
supports.
Right.
Where you get into trouble is when the engineers show the wall, and then they show like the fence, and don't kind of just do it on their own.
That's what we're asking.
I'd say,
Some of us have been there.
but if you work with them, if they just work with the manufacturer, they'll give them like what they need to do. You can even,
Where's the snow
Where
Over
does
the
the
wall.
snow go? Against the fence.
go? Yeah. Just taking the fence out one night when you get big
Yeah,
snow up
right.
there. And
Over the
you have to
wall.
really
Well,
fire up
it's
the truck.
that and the fence.
Yeah.
Don't
And
go
truck
over the
goes
wall.
over.
You sure you don't want it to be a wall? I don't know. I mean, it's true. When you push the snow here,
Yeah.
it's gonna go right against that fence. I'm just saying, you know.
You know, I'm feeling bad.
Oh.
Okay, so we
They
need to
won't do
get
that.
some more information on that,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay.
so do you guys have, before we kind of maybe move on, if you're not what you would like to see on top, but what you definitely would not like to see on top as far as like a look, any thoughts? Or just even general direction, just so that, you know. I'm assuming you guys would want more, I don't know, what, residential, light and visible as opposed to,
Yeah, but this has to be really robust.
It doesn't, it could be, you
That
know.
driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one has to withstand perhaps vehicular, somebody skidding and hitting it. So I don't know what the requirements would be for that. Because this driveway comes right out to it, so if you back out and you know, hit the brakes and you hit ice, you're gonna go right into it.
The cable guardrail,
I was thinking that.
they disappear nicely.
I don't know. The lighter the better, but it has to
work.
work, yeah.
And in the back, of course, that could just be decorative. We don't have vehicles out there, just small kids who might want to take a
Well,
look.
big kids too. I mean, it's a code requirement for what it
It
has
needs
to
to be,
be.
it needs to be 36 inches high for any area that has more than a 30-inch change in
right.
elevation, so.
That's right.
At
But
some
that could
point,
be
You
a
said
that
decorative
42, I
one.
was,
This
thought,
one.
okay.
It's a 36, according to the
36
commercial
is the
code.
code, yeah.
What you don't want to do, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, is to extend the retaining wall itself up.
No, because it
Because
just,
then someone could walk on top of that and fall.
I mean, actually, that does comply, but, you know,
I think it's gonna make it look even more
Eight
massive.
inches is
Yeah.
already imposing.
yeah, it'd be pretty imposing.
It would,
Not a good idea.
I think that we can come up with a solution that is,
could do piers.
well, that's, I was thinking of something like that.
I don't know.
You know, also a curve, some kind of curve at the end of that driveway is when your tire hits it, so you're not backing over.
That would be a good idea.
A warning sign.
But we'll look at that configuration and we'll come back to you.
Okay, that's good.
And then just maybe just it's, you know, just show it, and then it's here. You can't just have any close section, just show it off.
I'm gonna do a section.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Anything else on this? No. You guys? Any other comments?
We've been Rejecting all of them.
No, just making sure that, this
That's
is,
not the color?
this is not the color.
Yep.
Okay?
No.
I like that color, I thought that was cool. No, huh?
Looks like a fire station. Okay, anybody in the audience have any comments or questions? No? Good. Then, what we could do, I think what we'll do is continue to look at we'll do the draft decision. And if we could get the submittal on the vine planting and the fence on the retaining walls, together with the draft decision, say about a week in advance of when we look at it,
Okay.
then I think we'd be ready to finish it up. And with that, is that one also on the 7th? We're gonna be looking at a lot of them on the 7th. Or do you wanna go to the 18th?
The 18th.
18th, okay. Good. So we'll look at the draft decision on the 18th.
I think they're in the same situation. The sooner the better for,
Yeah, but how about
yeah, if you can get us the materials a week or two from now, we can present the draft decision.
For the 7th or for the 18th?
On the 18th.
7th is off the table.
Well, it's the 4th, 11th.
It's the 4th, yeah.
Anyway, but that hearing is booked up for 2 weeks.
Actually, I thought it was gonna have to go to December 3rd, so. Good.
No, starting to fight the weather, so we're trying to.
Yeah, understood, but, I mean, you see that it's almost 10 o'clock, and we still have about
Still got a
4
bunch
agenda
of
items
things
to
to
go.
I understand.
All right, very good. We'll
Thank
see
you.
on the 18th.
If you want any of these,
I'll collect everything.
I think these might be, no, these are Al's.
I don't know.
I'm just speaking for myself, but I really think it's overkill to have these
Okay.
given to us because.
I wasn't, you can have
I'm
it.
not,
No.
this is not
We
a
delivered-
comment to you.
We delivered a separate copy to the board.
Well, this is the plans that the board was given.
Yeah,
and maybe
I'll take
set of
those and go
plans.
through them and give back what we got.
I have a package.
Yeah,
Well,
he wanted to discuss
you know-
that, whether we actually did need all of this. If we
I
never
can
used
just
it,
print it
chance,
again,
all that
doesn't matter.
paper.
I looked at it.
Do you
I was
want- do you
actually
want to look?
free, because I thought I would never
These
get
colors
that
are normal.
in.
This might be
Plus,
the right
this is
one.
all online.
For Florida.
Yeah, well, is this online?
It is online, but
You want to take this just?
I think looking at it like this is.
Can you take this?
It's difficult, because it's very segmental,
Right.
and you don't get the big picture. But,
Yeah.
but I also, I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't
you
undo
guys have to
this.
tell us
Yeah.
if we're giving you too much.
Yeah.
Let me just say that if it's either emailed or it's online,
Yep.
we don't need this too. If for some reason you can't get it electronically,
Right.
and it's the only way we could get it, then I would say sure.
And we can do it individually if you want it.
But maybe you could ask just for
John was
yourself.
just saying you can do it individually, depending on what you prefer.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing
Okay, so
the
you
hard
do.
copy, because it's
No,
the
I'd
scale.
rather.
Supports the Guardrail going in.
So I'll talk to those
Right,
guys.
no, I get that, it's just so much paper.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is, I've got, are we doing mile standards today?
No.
No, but we got
I
it.
got mile standards.
I don't know why.
Okay. Are we doing mile standards? When are we doing it?
On the 4th.
On the 4th, so we just hang on to these.
Sure.
Okay.
You're getting it all back. And then
Yeah, are we
we're
gonna
gonna
get
haul
these
it around.
electronically too?
It's half a pine tree.
I know, that's.
studio, so go to the studio for videos.
Okay, where is that studio located?
For school, isn't it?
Or school.
Basement, building D.
Brooks School? Building.
Okay, so how does it read? This is a new item 5?
Yeah.
My suggestion is videos of every meeting are available through the Weston Media Center.
At the Brooks School.
Building D.
All right.
I move that we approve this. This response to the open meeting law complaint as modified.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, next. Guardrail decision. Discussion. What do we have to do to get to the end of the trail of the guardrail discussion?
So,
Decision.
we had last left it, and me and you had gone back and like some just changes, but we talked next steps. Next steps was going to be to meet with DPW. Because, you know, we wanted to know if, the problem was still gonna be a problem. You know, we're still gonna, I don't think they've been popping up as much as, it's kind of gone onto the radar as an issue.
Well, okay.
But so, I mean, I think that's where I
Actually,
left it.
not really, because they keep showing up. And, there's one on Highland that's popped up, there's one at the entrance to the middle school that's been installed, and so it hasn't.
Right, but I'm talking since,
disappeared.
the beginning of the summer when we had these discussions.
We couldn't get traction
Right.
with the planner.
I don't think we need the plan to
I don't
facilitate
think
it.
we do.
I mean, we're talking, Steve, we can meet with them, go over it with it, on like the macro scale, like what the concerns are.
Right.
What the issues are, and then go from there. If they feel like, well, we need some real guidance document, and we had talked, and I'm jumping from like the macro to more of the micro, where we talked about like flow charts. At one point, you had a very good point, because we're kind of heading in that direction. You're like, I want the flow chart that says no guardrails, right? Like, that's option one. That's the baseline condition, no guardrails. So we kind of worked the report to kind of funnel that message. My concern with like kind of from an engineering point of view of like a flow chart of like decision tree is engineers love that, and they love to enter into it and then come up with
You are here.
yeah, and which would be like, a guardrail. So the report as it kind of reads now reinforces like that they need to be carefully planned, the dangers of just putting them in without any design or considerations for where they are. Basically, end terminals too is like another big thing. But I guess just before we kind of unmark this draft and just say, here's the final report, I thought maybe we would meet with the DPW.
Would you put together sort of the draft of the decision tree before or after that meeting with the DPW?
I'm resistant to do that because I think if you do that, it gives people a path to get to where they want.
Resistant to even showing the decision tree.
Right, and not for any other reason of just because I know engineers, they'll want to get to an end point, and you point that out, how to get there, they'll do it.
Okay.
If you guys think otherwise, we can do it, but we just love like entering into those like Candyland mazes and ending up at the ends without kind of thinking how we get there, or bigger picture issues or anything like that.
When do you want to put the decision tree together? After you meet with them?
He's saying no decision tree.
Oh, but I thought at the beginning you were arguing for a decision.
No, I'm arguing against it on the basis of engineer personalities.
I see.
I think he's saying that we'll get some.
Feedback.
Feedback in that direction, and that we should say, we should try to head in the other direction and say.
Because you
look, it's a-
want them to consider decisions outside a decision tree, or?
Well, no, it's because your main desire is not to have these things just popping up willy-nilly.
I see.
And,
And what if part of the decision tree is no guardrail? What's wrong with that?
you know, that would be like the first one.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's pretty easy once you put these things together to jump over and say, okay, well, what's my reason for having one? You know?
So you wind up where you wanna be.
Yeah, you wind up where you want to be and you shape your,
You wind up a galvanized guardrail
Can
every
I-
time.
Right, exactly.
I want to play devil's advocate. First of all, there are a lot of things that need to be revised in the report, which I've indicated. But also, I think that there's just a lot of stuff missing, and I think that if they simply use the information in the report, there's nothing that's going to compel them to use the one that we recommend, because there's no rational explanation for why we prefer cable guardrails, other than the fact that they look good and they're the least
And
expensive.
they're effective.
Yeah,
If they
yeah,
look
of
good,
course.
they're least expensive,
Right.
and they're effective.
And that's why I think.
Why would you ever use them?
Exactly. And that's why I think that we need to add things, as I suggested, like, we need to add maintenance costs and lifetimes to the various guardrail types, because just indicating what the first time costs are doesn't tell the whole picture, and they're just gonna, you know, put bullet holes through that one. And, you know, as I mentioned, the cost information for the cable option is sorely lacking. It's based on installations in Colorado and stuff like that. But finally, like, even the decision tree, there's nothing in there right now that talks about what type of guardrail you use for this, you know, for below this speed limit, or for this steepness of embankment, or for whether, even basic stuff, whether it's a scenic or non-scenic road. There's nothing in that report that indicates any of that. So all we've done basically is listed, you know, the 4 types of guardrails, how much it costs to install them, and, you know, which ones we prefer. And I just don't think that's gonna fly with the DPW.
well, any approved guardrail system meets the standard. So there's no, if there's a warrant for a guardrail, right? Any of the approved ASHTO guardrails meet the warrant. So, you know, any of the ones we've talked about. So there's no, you know, steepness of bank or things like that. So it really kind of does boil down to what we were trying to get at is, and what we, at that time, we were hearing was, these other ones aren't appropriate for other reasons. You know, you know, it was what, the cable wasn't allowed, but it's all over Lincoln.
All over Lincoln.
So wood was more expensive and less. I can't remember. It was like 6. The wood was slightly more expensive to install, but didn't last as long.
But the long-term cost balanced out.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and actually, I think it was just trying to frame other solutions to the problem, which was, you know, there's these other options. I mean, you know, there's some other tools in the toolbox they can use. Again, you know, I kind of was in the weeds with it a little bit, now kind of pulled me out and said, but don't forget, you know, no guardrail's an option too, if, you know, that we need to reinforce that it's, you know, just don't jump to like, we gotta put one here, you know, remove the hazard, or is it really warranted, or, you know, if you're gonna put one, how's it gonna be properly designed, how are you gonna do the end terminals? You know, you just can't have a guardrail end, I mean, that's a spear.
So just let me back up for a minute. We've been asked to provide guidelines, and they are required to follow our guidelines, or?
No,
We're making recommendations. to the
Making
Board of
recommendations.
Selectmen.
I see.
The selectmen can choose, they're the board in charge
Okay.
of the roadways.
Yeah.
So they can take our recommendations and accept them, but not follow them, or follow them, or follow them sometimes. It's their
They've
decision.
requested this from us, so they'll
Right.
probably follow them. assuming they're reasonable.
That's right, and we have sort of thought, the default preference for the DPW today is for galvanized highway
Over-engineered
style
guardrails.
guardrails.
Over-engineered.
And so we came to the selectmen and we said, it makes every road in town look like it's a state highway. Is there some way we'd have a more sensitive resolution to this issue? And then we started with the idea that there might be appropriate guardrails for appropriate situations. You know, so that in one case, maybe no guardrail would be more appropriate than just putting them everywhere you think they might be needed. Or maybe it's a wood guardrail as opposed to a galvanized metal one. Or if you really want it to disappear, maybe it's a cable guardrail. And what Steve's trying to drive at is there a recipe to give them that says, we prefer X guardrail in this kind of a circumstance and that guardrail in another?
Right, the report right now has absolutely no criteria to tell you when you have to use a wood guardrail over a cable or a steel over wood.
There's a recommendation, yeah.
It just says, you know, which ones we prefer aesthetically.
If the default is they all work, then it
But not in all
becomes-
circumstances, right?
Depending on the speed.
Some work for, maybe they do all work
Weston
under a
speed.
speed limit of 40 in this town, but I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, generally, if they're there, they'll work when they're appropriately sited and designed. You know, sometimes like the cable's not great along curved roads, but I mean, that's kind of where we fall back to saying, like, you know, they need to properly design and sited for their use. It really is, from what I understood at the time, like, to give them other viable options, because we were hearing things like, or you guys were hearing things like, look, only galvanized, we can only use galvanized guardrails. So we said, okay, look, there's these other options. Well, these other options are more expensive. Oh, look, here's some cost data. They are, you know, a couple of them some are appreciably cheaper, a couple of them are like 10% more initial cost. So they're in the ballpark. You know, it's not a 25-year lifetime maintenance, and you can do that type of thing, but they're in the ballpark. You know, if one's, you know, $25 a linear foot, the other one's 28, but one's 15, you know, and you're putting in a 50-foot application, does that really matter? No. Here's the baseline. What is appropriate for the locale from an aesthetic?
How many times a year they put in new guardrails?
They've got a stockpile, but apparently quite an extensive stockpile that they got from somewhere of lots and
itching
lots
to
of
put 'em on?
galvanized guardrails.
Oh, I see.
So there's a compulsion to get those
Put her
babies
out
on the
or
road.
something else?
Well, I mean, or, yeah, I mean,
But how many
if
times
the
a
only
year they
tool
put
you
it
have
up?
is a hammer, I mean.
I mean, did they put up once every 2 months?
I think it's always a maintenance thing,
It's
so
a maintenance.
where they see a need for replacing, they put in galvanized,
Right.
whether
Oh,
it was
I
something
see.
else
I see.
previously.
For example,
The
Church,
default is
Except
galvanized.
where they really need.
Church Street, there used to be
Oh,
410, you know, self-rusting steel guardrails along the whole road. Some of those needed to be replaced, and so now what we have is a mixture
Yeah.
of galvanized highway rails
Beautiful.
and Core-10 rusted steel rails. So, what we're saying is that certain roads, maybe, you know, the DPW galvanized rails aren't objectionable. You know, maybe we haven't found one of those, but.
Park Ave.
Yeah, certain roads, we would recommend that they use something else. We'd recommend they use wooden guardrails or cable guardrails or something else. So it becomes almost less a cost or a performance issue as an aesthetic issue.
Well, if you're saying that they all perform to the same standards, at least on our roads with our speed limits and on our embankments and in all circumstances, then we would clearly just recommend one.
Right,
You know, I would
the one you
recommend
like the most.
The one we like the most.
Just most
But I didn't
distinctly
think,
pleasing.
I never got the impression it was that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of is. I mean, they all work appropriately, and they're all kind of in the same ballpark of cost, so which one do you like the best? And I wouldn't say that it's actually just, you know, I wouldn't handcuff yourself to saying it's just one unless you're worried about kind of the same thing I was with the flow chart, and that too many choices and you're gonna end up with the choice that's already sitting in the DPW yard. You know, so that's more of like how you want to shape and present this solution to what, you know.
I think in some instances, the wooden guardrails would be great, but not necessarily in every instance. You know, I can think of situations where the cable guardrail would be better, because, you know, it virtually disappears in the landscape.
Right, so when would you prefer wood over cable?
Well,
Cable's a lot cheaper.
that's what we have to,
It sounds like
Think
there's
about-
some practical things, if there's a turn, for example.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, but
Yeah.
they
The
were saying it's the
reinforced
same no
wood
matter what.
is stronger,
yeah. Well, no, apparently they all work about the same.
but I think maybe around
I
the
mean,
bend or into
You know, like along Church Street, if you're driving up Church Street, you know, in my mind's eye, that would be wood. I don't know why, probably because there's a lot of trees and, you know, and then like the cable, I see, and again, it's probably just a power suggestion, but when you drive through Lincoln at Trapello Road, that's what they have. And it goes like road, cable guardrail, and then like sidewalk. And that's where the picture's from, by the way, but, you know, so that one's kind of in the open, but it disappears, you know, even, because it's so, you know,
It's unobtrusive.
so unobtrusive.
So
If you
wouldn't
did
want
wood
a
there,
heavy rail there, you know, it'd be better to
Right.
leave the landscape open.
you know, if you did wood there, it would breathe more. But if you did,
Maybe you would, I mean, maybe you'd want it everywhere.
Yeah, I really think that it sounds like if they're all the same, essentially, a few little tweaks, they're all the same cost, essentially, a few little tweaks. We don't have a speed limit above 40 in this town, do we?
State highways.
state highways.
Okay, well, we're not talking about.
Cable's actually a lot less expensive. You
Then,
just have to
and you
maintain
guys
it.
like cable, I actually never really noticed cable, so.
That's
I
the idea.
So I
That's
can't
good.
weigh in on this, but
That's good.
then I think you ought to just make a decision that that's what we want.
The other issue is like replacement, most of their work is replacement, like along Merriam Street, right along that bridge.
And there was
You have a
some,
hodgepodge, I'd rather just have all steel or all something. So most of their work is replacement, they're replacing cable along the steel route. Not sure I like that.
Right, that's when you would use one of our other recommendations.
So we need to establish standards.
Well, it still goes back to what Dave's suggesting, which is to meet with the DPW with an open mind here,
Yeah.
rather than.
Why don't, before we establish standards, just
That's
meet
fine.
and say what this is where we are.
and that would kind of be, nice to kind of hear
What the issue is.
and what their thoughts are on it, so we can respond.
Yeah.
You know, like, if, you know, so we can maybe better document answers to their concerns.
It's more practical.
You know, say like, look, no, you know, there's other things that you can do, and no, it's not 5 times as much, and it's not as, you know, this, and, you know, so we can kind of apply pressure where it's, you know, being focused.
Right. Yeah.
I think traditionally it's always been the cable. The town's really done a lot of cable guardrails.
Years and years ago, I mean,
And,
With the old concrete post and the cable that's all sort of falling apart.
yeah, but that was the that was what was.
Right, historically. That was-
we haven't done that in a long time. Well, if we're gonna meet with the DPW, I would at least ask that the typos
Oh, yeah.
and additions and all that stuff that I suggested be incorporated.
Yeah,
before
that's,
posting that
yeah,
report.
we would do that, and we'd have it marked draft and all that, but I think maybe, you know, doing that, giving them a copy, saying, look, we want to talk to you about your thoughts on this,
It's good.
so we can kind of flush it out a little bit more.
Yeah. John, could you
Come here.
contact
Yeah.
Tom and Steve and see if we can find
At
it?
night or during the day?
During the day, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Probably a Tuesday, you know, so that
Yep.
Dave doesn't have to travel over here.
Oh, I don't care, whatever.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay,
Special edition of the plan.
good. All right, so that's that.
Just you guys, right?
Next, the last item, if I'm not mistaken.
The North Ave.
2 North Avenue. It's this one page. Two they already did, right? The fence detail, they actually did that.
So I have some pictures also.
Didn't they submit a sketch from an engineer last time?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have that. There's 2 sets of the same. Those are pictures, were they from today or yesterday?
Yes, that's, one of them shows the secondary retaining wall in front of Flagstone where we're gonna put the plantings. And the other one shows the berm that Jim said he'd have it done, blocking off one access and connecting it to the existing retaining wall, and ultimately planting on top of it.
See
Isn't this the berm right here?
Yeah,
Is that it?
that's it.
What are we looking at here?
That's on
So
North Ave,
this
looking
is-
into
this is from-
Nance's house.
Oh, this
Jim's
is
house
these are two
looking
different
out.
sets.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is from Jim's property, looking at through the
Looking
street.
out.
No.
Where the driveway used to be?
Yes,
Oh,
Yeah.
so then,
no.
no, he doesn't have it
I
there.
don't have it.
Oh.
You have it.
Oh, oh, all right, good. You can have it.
Okay. Okay.
So this shows you from the other side, if you are, like you can set up.
Yep.
No.
Tony's not voting.
The only thing I'd recommend is taking paragraph 2 out, because we already have that. And just having conditions 1 through 5. Is that, everybody okay with that?
And then, it says after review, the board voted something to something except the modifications proposed subject to the following conditions. Don't we have to write the date in of our vote?
Yes.
So,
Even though that's already installed, shouldn't it still be documented that that's what this is what we find?
I thought they submitted a sketch to us from an engineer. Did they not? Or did
They have for the proof that it would meet the code requirements for.
Installation will be
Going north.
taking place next week.
Yes.
The fence along the retaining wall?
I thought
I thought it was installed.
No, the fences have not been installed yet.
So it stays in.
Or it's 2 stays in.
Yep.
Okay, it stays in.
But you just need to reverse.
But we submitted the sketch that shows
Yes.
that
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's simulation, but
I
we
haven't
thought it
read
was
that.
already installed. We didn't
Oh, okay, I
realize
haven't
that.
read that, I don't know what the decision says.
Yeah.
So you just need to reverse the wall, new and, that item 2. So I move that. Unless a special engineer, that new fence. So I move that we approve the memorandum regarding the 2 North Avenue modification of the previously approved limited site plan dated October 7th as modified.
Second. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
4-0. Well done.
Long road.
Pictures back?
No, these are, I think they're John's
Oh,
copies.
John's copies? Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we got that.
You were quick.
Tony is recusing himself.
Good night.
John, I'll swing by tomorrow.
He lives everywhere.
I won't be in tomorrow,
Okay,
All right, so there's
Friday,
one.
or if you want, give me a call. I
okay.
have my cell number.
No, I don't.
All right.
Just wanted to.
Meadowbrook, we're gonna get to next
I didn't think so.
What's with the Haley Aldrich meeting minutes?
That's Meadowbrook.
You want
That's
to-
Meadowbrook, no, Haley
Oh,
Aldrich
that's,
is,
that's
the
Harvard, that's not on the agenda.
Okay, so this
Right.
is tomorrow,
To the state
or next
places.
week.
Right.
So I'll call Ann tomorrow
All
and
right.
schedule something for Friday. How's
Okay,
that?
yeah,
All right? And Peter, so.
okay.
It's
Oh,
not-
okay, that's fine. All right, thank you.
But then it's been.
Yeah,
Yes, I
but
agree.
even, it's just,
Stunning.
yeah.
So,
All right.
go ahead.
Can we just limp along to the last item, which is the,
Lamson Park?
well, yeah, I guess the selectmen want to create a working group to talk about the Lamson Park playground. And Donna appointed me to the working group.
There you go.
That is,
Done.
Because-
Take company.
Because you're not on enough committees already.
because there's not enough to do. So that, I guess I'm gonna be starting to work on that.
Congratulations.
Thank
You're a
you.
winner.
Thank you very much. Thank
I think it's appropriate.
you. Good, and that's it, so, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.